Hey, welcome back to the channel. Austin here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the 9 best dividend ETFs that you should be looking at and possibly invested in right now. I am personally invested in a few of these, so I wanted to put together this list for you because this is actionable information that you can use right now to go look at and get into these, not one or all or a few of these dividend ETFs. Okay, so these are ETFs that pay dividends. These are really fantastic investments. I've got some notes here as always to make sure that I bring you all the information that I promised you. I want to say up front as my disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a stockbroker. There's a disclaimer below. So please, if you're going to consider investing, check with a stockbroker or a licensed professional. Okay, lastly, before we get started, please consider subscribing to the channel. And please, if you would, hit that like button. It really helps my channel out if you're getting value out of this video. Okay, so let's get started. These are in no particular order, by the way. So these are 9 of the best dividend ETFs to buy right now in 2021 and beyond. These are the guys, okay? So with that said, I'm going to throw up on the bottom here, you'll see their names come across so that you can pause the video if you want to go check any of these out for yourself. You can do that. Okay, so the first one that I want to talk about is the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF, okay, ticker VIG. This is one of the best ETF dividends with the biggest size that's been around for a long time. It has over $50 billion in assets, and the fund holds 180 of the top dividend stocks out there. And it has some examples of companies that are in it are Procter & Gamble, Microsoft, things like that. So, you know, these are there's a lot of larger stock companies in this, and this has a larger stocks with a median market value of nearly $100 billion for each of those stocks. So again, these are pretty much kind of large cap stocks that are in this. This is one that's really good, and its current yield is 2%, okay? So the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF with a current yield of 2%. That is our first one. Okay, our second one is the ProShares SP 500 Aristocrats fund, and this is a dividend aristocrat. This is one that has increased its dividend payout for 25 consecutive years just to be on the dividend aristocrat, so that makes it a very good fund, a long track record of doing really well. And it's a great fund. So some examples of stocks in the fund are ExxonMobil, People's United Financial. This fund has, let me make sure I'm getting it right. Looks like there's about 60 total companies in this fund. Again, the ProShares SP 500 Aristocrats is one of the best dividend ETFs out there with a current yield of 2.4%, guys, 2.4. Okay, so right now we're getting a little bit better as far as, you know, the other one was 2%, this one's 2.4%. Okay, so that was the ProShares SP 500 Aristocrats. Okay, so the next one is one that I'm personally in myself. It's the Spyder SP Dividend ETF. This is one of the best dividend ETFs out there, and let me see here. Has a similar makeup of large caps, but with a really good yield. It's got $15 billion in assets. You can see I've got some notes. I'll make sure that I get you guys everything here. $15 billion in assets. It only has 120 companies in it, and let's see. Oh, here's something to note. There is no more than roughly 2.5% in any single holding, which I think is really good. I actually didn't know that. That's cool. I've just learned something new. It's no more than 2.5% in any single holding, because what there is, it diversifies, right? They're not loaded up into any one particular company more than 2.5%. The cool thing about that is, again, you minimize risk, right? So that's one of the really cool things. By the way, the current yield is 3.2%. That's really good current yield, but we're getting better. Okay, the next one is the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. This is on par with Vanguard for one of the cheapest dividend ETFs out there. There's just a 6% annual fee, so it's $6 per year for every $10,000 invested. It is a current yield of 3.6%, so that's really good. And right now, some of the top companies in this particular fund are Pfizer, That's an example of a really good one that's in that. So again, the Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity ETF is one that you might think about looking at with a really good current yield from a dividend stock payment standpoint, okay, or dividend payments. All right, we are definitely jumping now. This particular fund, the iShares International Select Dividend ETF, is getting a current yield of 7.1%. Excuse me, 7.1%. Okay, so I'm going to read my notes here to make sure I get this right for you. Okay, this is looking beyond domestic stocks. Okay, so this is an international fund. Again, hence the name international is in the name of the fund. This does exclude U.S. companies. Okay, so right there, if you're like, hey, no, you know what? I only want to be invested in U.S. companies. This fund's not for you. But if you're looking for maybe to add a fund that is made up of companies that are outside of the United States, this particular one might be for you. Okay, so some examples of companies. These are really, really big, good companies that are in this are Royal Dutch Shell and British American Tobacco. Okay, so these stocks are just as stable as their U.S. peers, and as the yield indicates, they often pay significantly higher dividends. I mean, this thing current yield 7.1%, guys, 7.1%. All right, we got a few more to go here. Okay, the iShares Core Dividend Growth ETF has a current yield of 2.6%. Again, we've dropped down a little bit. Remember, I said these were in no particular order. Okay, so among the top funds from the ETF families is this particular one. Let's see, I'm just going to make sure I get this right for you. It has only, quote unquote, $9 billion in total assets, $9 billion, but it has 480 different stocks in it. That's one of the highest stock count made up of companies in the fund itself that's out there, that in fact that I think I know of. 480 different stocks. It's a lot, okay? But let's see. Let me see. Make sure I get this right. Apple's in it. Again, it's a dividend fund. Yeah, that's basically what I want to say about this. Again, I've got notes just to make sure that I cover everything I wanted to say. Okay, so the iShares Core Dividend Growth was that fund. Okay, our next fund is the WisdomTree US MidCap Dividend ETF. Okay, so this particular one looks to focus on particular stocks that are not so big and not so small. So it's kind of obviously, hence the name MidCap. It's made up of mid-cap stocks. So if you're like kind of an investor, hey, I don't want to be, invested in completely large cap stocks, this might be one that's for you. It is made up of 350 stocks that are in it, including like Campbell, NetApp, things like that. Current yield of 3.8%, guys. 3.8% in this particular one. All right. So the next one is, the long name, is our First Trust Value Line Dividend Index Fund. Say that really fast. First Trust Value Line Dividend Index Fund. Okay, so this is a tactical fund. It's an active ETF. Higher turnover rate because it chases sectors. So this particular fund, excuse me, it looks like they're pulling in. Excuse me, they're adding and pulling in particular companies that make up the fund. So it's a hybrid of an equity fund looking to seek share appreciation and traditional dividend ETF that focuses on sleepy income plays. It has a current yield of 2.9%, guys. Let's see, its expenses are $70 for every $10,000 invested. So it's got a little bit higher expense ratio than your traditional, like index funds, ETFs, things like that. Okay, because again, they're swapping in and out those particular stocks. It's got more than $8 billion in assets. Okay, so this particular fund is a good one if you're looking at kind of a little bit more active plays. Maybe you don't want to be in a fund where it's just the same companies that are then they're over years and years and years. This one, they're really going after the fact that they're trading stocks in and out to try to kind of change up that particular ratio and mix of companies that are in the fund. Okay, our next one is the Invesco SP 500 High Dividend Low Volatility ETF. Again, say that name really, really, really fast. This is a fund that's built to track to the S&P 500 with high dividend companies. Okay. All right. So there's only 50 stocks in this particular fund. It is a current yield of 5.6%, so very, 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 very good in that capacity. And again, it's made up. This is a really good one. It's actually, this is one I was not aware of, so I may have to look at investing on this one myself. A lot of times when I do these videos for you guys, I don't look at and kind of look at where I'm going to head with this. I just jot them down, and then I kind of as I'm looking and doing the video for you, I'm learning stuff as well, guys. Okay, so again, this is a really cool one because it's a fund that's built to track to the S&P 500, so you know that it's very conservative, it's very fiscally, it's very fiscally safe, and it's built to track to that S&P 500. But yet, this also they're layering on top the fact that the companies made up in the fund are paying dividends. Okay, so it's made up of companies like AT&T. I've mentioned that in previous videos. That's doing about AT&T themselves are producing about a 7% dividend payment. Williams Companies, that's another example of a fund. This is definitely a fund that if you're kind of a low risk investor, but yet you want to be in a fund that is a dividend fund, this is absolutely squarely made for you. Okay, so again, that's a really good one with a current yield of 5.6%. And by the way, that was our last one in the list. Okay, so few final thoughts. Dividend funds, dividend ETF funds are a great way to invest in dividends and not be invested in individual dividend stocks. I didn't say that up front, but I really want to bring that home. That if you're wanting to kind of combine the benefit of, hey, I want to be in dividends because I want those dividend payments, but I also want to have very, very low risk. I want really safe investments. Then dividend ETF funds are the best way for you to go about doing that. Really, they simply are, guys. They really are. And so I hope you've enjoyed this video because it's my goal, very simply, to bring you videos that have impact on you, that you can take actionable action. I can't believe I just said that. You can take action on simply right now and get started and get out there and get moving. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you in the next video.